Day by day, the coaching carousel keeps on spinning, and day by day, it's getting more chaotic. On Monday, Mike McCarthy's contract ran out. The Cowboys let it just run out for some reason. And now they're coachless. They join the Raiders, the Jaguars, the Bears, and the Jets, all without a coach. All looking for a coach. In this actually good pool of candidates. For some reason, they let Mike McCarthy's contract run out. Now, they can't interview Ben Johnson or Aaron Glenn until after the playoffs if they don't already get hired by then or already, settle in on a job by then. And Mike McCarthy couldn't interview with any of these teams until now, which is pretty late in the coaching cycle. Even though a lot of these teams still don't have a coach, a lot of these teams are narrowing in on who they want as their coach and narrowing down the options out of all this big pool of actual good candidates. It's a good time to not have a coach, I guess, to be looking for a coach. But also, it's crazy right now. It's crazy. And then you get the development that Deion Sanders could possibly be a head coach for the Cowboys. Jerry Jones and Deion Sanders leading the same organization is a recipe for disaster. So let's start. Deion Sanders. Let's say he joins the Cowboys as a head coach. After only 2 years in Power 5 football in college. One was a terrible season when he only got 3 wins. And then he turned it around with 2 top 5 picks. But he still turned it around. And the team was nice. The team caught a groove at the end of the year, 9-3. It was a nice team. He had a nice staff. He knows how to build a staff. He runs it like an NFL team. Those are two pluses right there to already be able to transition to the NFL. But he joins the Cowboys with Jerry Jones, who is 82 years old, and he wants to win right now. And since he wants to win right now, he doesn't have patience for Deion Sanders to mold into the NFL coach, to catch his footing as an NFL coach. He wants to win right now. And the Cowboys have question marks. They have question marks on defense. Do they sign Michael Parsons, extend him, whatever? They have to hit in the draft, which they haven't really done. And the Cowboys now, looking at it this season, all of a sudden playing one of the best divisions in football. I mean, you got the Commanders. They're in the playoffs still. Divisional round matchup on Saturday. They got the Eagles. They're in the divisional round. Those are 2 top teams in football. And the Cowboys, they're pretty decent if Dak Prescott's healthy. But there's also another question mark. Is Dak Prescott worth the money they paid him? I mean, they paid him late. The Cowboys are just doing everything late. They're like me with homework. Just do everything late. Fired Mike McCarthy late. Or let him go. Then they paid Dak Prescott late. And now they're in this position that... Does Deion Sanders really want to coach for the Cowboys? I know that's the team that he said he'll coach for. He'll take that call. He doesn't want to coach in the NFL unless it's for his sons. Or he'll take that call for the Cowboys. That's what he said. But do you really want to play one of the best divisions in football with an owner that has a bigger ego than you? And he wants to win a Super Bowl right now? He's 82 years old. There's not many years left for him to try to win a Super Bowl. And he wants to win it now. And Deion Sanders, that's not the job for him. I'm going to be honest. That's not the job for him. Now, what I would say is, you go get... I like Liam Cohen. If you want to go offense for the Cowboys. You saw what he did with Baker Mayfield. I feel like that's what you need to do with Dak. Dak is not that good right now. You had an offense coach with Mike McCarthy. I don't know how much of it was his fault, how much was not. You had Kellen Moore. He did it pretty alright. Kellen Moore still couldn't win a game. A big game. 12-5 season. I think Liam Cohen's really good. Simple offense, not that complex like Ben Johnson. In the Cowboys, you got CeeDee Lamb. You get someone else with CeeDee Lamb. Get a running back. You need a running back. That team's terrible running. Liam Cohen, and also I like Brian Flores. I like Brian Flores if you want to go defense for the Cowboys. But those are just my opinions right there. Now, what I want to get to is another team. The first team that is complete chaos right now in the coaching carousel. Interviewing goddamn everybody I see on Twitter. They're interviewing David Shaw, Marcus Freeman. They want to interview everybody. It's the Bears. And the more and more the weeks go on, how about this? Let's start right here. The Bears, they're the favorite to get Ben Johnson. From what I was seeing going into the offseason, they were the favorite to get Ben Johnson. And now the more and more the weeks pass by, the less and less I have confidence in them getting Ben Johnson. I mean, I'm seeing Ryan Poles get defensive coordinator happy and try to hire every former Dolphins defensive coach there is. Anthony Weir from Brian Flores. He's getting defensive coordinator happy. I saw he wants to hire a defensive coach like Brian Flores or Weaver. I don't think that's a good idea. You have to go offense with Caleb Williams. The time is now. You have to go offense. Now, Mike McCarthy's available. He's getting interviewed by the Bears. That's not a bad option. He has a high floor. You know what you're gonna get. You're gonna stabilize your losing. Your losing is terrible. This is a dumpster fire losing organization. It's been terrible for years. Ryan Poles is not a good GM. But at least you get Mike McCarthy. You put a band-aid on that losing. And you go 9-8. At least you'll go 9-8. At least you'll go 10-7 in a couple seasons. At least you'll be a playoff contender. And that's what Mike McCarthy gives you. And he's an offensive coach, which you need with Caleb Williams in this offense. You try to sign all these offensive pieces, you need an offensive coach. A good one, a decent one. He's a Super Bowl winning coach. And a pattern you see with all these young quarterbacks, with these losing organizations, is they bought in Super Bowl head coaches that have been to the Super Bowl, and it's worked out. Peyton for the Broncos with Bo Nix. Harbaugh with Justin Herbert and the Chargers. Dan Quinn's been to a Super Bowl. Him with the Commanders and Jaden Daniels. They're still in the playoffs. All these teams made the playoffs. All these teams recently bought in coaches that have been to the Super Bowl or won a Super Bowl. And now Vrabel, who's been a good playoff head coach, is hired by the Patriots, and he's looking to turn around that organization after they've been losing the last 2 seasons with Drake May. So there's a pattern here. It works. I think Mike McCarthy, you give him a shot with the Bears, you're in playoff contention in 2 seasons. And then maybe you can go get a Ben Johnson type guy and the new one that comes along, the Vikings offensive coordinator. If you get annoyed with going 10-7 with Caleb Williams every year, but I'll be annoying having 5-win, 6-win seasons every year. So Mike McCarthy, I think that's a good hire for the Bears. I think he should really go to the Bears. I think that's who they should look at. I think if they get Ben Johnson, I mean, you should be happy too. He's the best offensive mind there is available. So I say Ben Johnson, Mike McCarthy, no defensive coach. If it is, it's an absolute failure. Now that we talked about the 2 hottest head coach hunting teams in the league, the Bears and the Cowboys, and those are the 2, I think, best spots for a head coach, to be honest, even though Jerry Jones, you don't want to really be with him. But there's the Raiders, the Jaguars, and the Jets. And there's always a weakest link. And who I think is the weakest link out of these 3 teams, the Raiders, the Jaguars, and the Jets. All 3 teams hunting for a head coach. I think the Raiders are pretty obviously the weakest link. At least with the Jaguars, you get Trevor Lawrence, you get a quarterback. Even though you have to deal with Trent Baalke, that GM that absolutely sucks, and Tony Khan, who has too many things going on with his life to even be able to do a good job with the Jaguars. At least you get Trevor Lawrence, a good quarterback. The league, everybody around the league knows he has potential. The Raiders, in my opinion, even though the Jets, it's terrible, they got young players, Garrett Wilson, Sauce Gardner, decent defense. Even though it's terrible over there, kids running it, Madden running it. The Raiders got screwed by Antonio Pierce. I knew that wasn't going to work out. It was that hot interim head coach bump they got, and they stuck with him for another 2 seasons and did absolutely nothing. That was terrible. So then he wins a random game in December, and they lose out on a top 3 pick, and now they can't get a quarterback. Now they got AOC still. And he's not really that good. He's a backup. You can keep him as a backup, but he's not really that good. Unless you trade up and try to get one of the top 2 quarterbacks, you're going to be stuck with a mid quarterback. This draft is Cam Ward-Shedeur, and then drop off all the way down to Liz Jackson Dart, Quinn Ewers, Dylan Gabriel. I mean, you don't want that. Maybe Jackson Dart, if he has a good combine. You really need a quarterback. And you can't really get a good one. You can't get a top one. At least last year, you could have got a quarterback 1 through 30. This year, you can't get a quarterback if it's 1 through 3. You could only get a quarterback 1 through 2. Unless someone signs a quarterback or something. You get that trade with the Browns, maybe. But the Raiders are the worst spots. Tom Brady's the owner, so you got that at least. But there's really no talent on that team besides Max Crosby. He might be gone. There's no talent in offense. There's no talent on defense. Antonio Brown couldn't really do anything else with it, but he screwed it up. I don't think that was a good hire. I don't think he was ready to be a head coach. It was the quick interim bump that you get when you fire a coach and the hot interim comes in, and they hired him off of that, and that was just bad. I think the Raiders are a terrible spot. They're gonna get a head coach, maybe Brian Flores, defensive coach. Tom Brady, that's not probably gonna happen. So Ben Johnson, I saw he spoke with Tom Brady. That's not gonna happen. Ben Johnson is smart at his picking of these head coaches. He's going to a team with a quarterback, with an offense, with someone that's gonna help him. Somewhere where he can actually win. So that's not gonna happen. So it's gonna be one of these drop-off candidates. Liam Cohen, maybe. I saw he just got interviewed by the Jaguars, which I think would be good. I like Liam Cohen. I think he'll be good. Jaguars, they need an offensive coach for sure. Trevor Lawrence, this is it. You got two more years of Trevor Lawrence, and if he's mid, you move off. That's it. If you can't do nothing with this coach, you move off. So you got to get the best coach you want. The Jets, they're an absolute complete shithole. Rex Ryan thinks he can just talk himself into getting hired. I don't think he's going to get hired. It'll be funny if he does. But I think they probably need a defensive coach, Brian Flores or something like that. They need to move off Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers is not helping. He can't deal with a new coach. He's going to go to the Steelers. Him and Devontae Adams going to the Steelers, who have their own coaching controversy. So it's just complete chaos right now. But the Raiders, they're the worst spot. The Jaguars, they need an offensive coach. The Jets, I think they go with Brian Flores or something like that. The Bears, they're interviewing everybody. They need to go with Mike McCarthy. If not, they need to go with Ben Johnson. And the Cowboys, they have a decent team that many coaches would want if that owner wasn't there.